Mikko. I'm our chief evangelist. Together today with this trio, we will gather what we have learned about Shopify Markets features so far. And as we can see, there is tons of people here. So please, during this webinar, feel free to ask us questions. There is the chat window on the right column. So during this session, feel free to ask us questions. By the end of this session, we will cover all of those questions, or at least as many as we only can. So welcome this morning, special episode, Tero Junttila, Pinja and Mikko discussing what is the multi-store setup and Shopify Markets. In a heartbeat, I will start sharing my screen. Tero, Pinja, welcome. Any comments before we start with the webinar?
Pinja, ladies first.
Yeah, thank you, and nice to be here. And I'm very happy that we have a big audience here today. And yeah, how about you, Tero?
Thanks, Pinja, and welcome everybody. Also from my part, it's nice to see that this topic is so interesting and a lot of people joining. I already have to tell you at this part of the presentation or the webinar that this is live webinar, and sometimes also live brings you some surprises. And I have it there in the background for a 4-year-old kid. So if there is any surprises coming, I apologize already now, but that's live and that's priorities. So that's happened. But let's get started.
Great. So what we will cover today is briefly about Woolman, what kind of company we are. Then we will go to the transparent review. What have we learned about Shopify Markets so far? Is it a right fit for you now? What about the future? We will go in depth through the whole functionality. What is Shopify Markets? Then discuss the pros and cons of current Shopify Markets feature, trying to be as transparent as only possible here. Then real life learnings from our customer cases. What have we learned when we have been implementing this together with our customers? And then finally, why a hybrid setup might be a better fit for you who are running on Shopify Plus. And then having a look at what does the roadmap 2023 promise when it comes to Shopify Markets. And finally, there is enough room for questions, and we'll tackle them one by one. Woolman is Europe's largest Shopify Plus partner. We have currently more than 100 employees, and we are serving our customers globally. We are mainly focusing on Shopify Plus level brands and making sure that we could help them to grow hand in hand. We are a one-stop shop for all of your Shopify-related business needs, and the majority of our customers are D2C brands excelling in e-commerce. This is the trio today, and why we have chosen to use 3 separate specialists is that we are sort of like tackling this same topic from slightly different angles. Tero is our CTO, looking at the more technical perspective, and together with Pinja and myself, we have been looking at the more commercial perspective, helping to make sure that our customers get the most out of their Shopify Markets functionality if they are already using it. But Tero, let's get us started. What is Shopify Markets? Why should one care?
Yes, Shopify Markets is here to help to sell cross-border easily. So helping to sell internationally from country to country. And overall, from the platform point of view, this is a big step forward, even though this has been cooking for a long time. So Shopify has been launching market-related things for some time already, like language versions, currency conversions, shipping options, shipping zones, payment methods, and so on. So it's been cooking a long time, but now Shopify Market is kind of gathering everything that we need for cross-border market under one place in Shopify. And from platform point of view, this is a big step. Pinja here could tell a little bit more about the common use cases that we see that Shopify Market is a good fit for.
Yeah, there are multiple use cases, but here I have chosen like two examples. The first one is that, for example, a brand might have focused on a certain market area like Nordics, and then they want to see like, okay, what is their audience globally, and it's so fast way to just add multi-currency with Shopify payments, and even you can later on, for example, localize the markets. And then another example is the other way around, that you have like multiple Shopify stores, or you have stores with other technology. But when we go to Benelux, for example, there are certain languages you use. You might have like the same content strategy, and even the shipping and payment methods are shared. So those are great two examples.
Great, good to hear. And then moving on, when we look at the whole market features, what are the elements of Shopify Markets? Tero, please advise us.
Yes, the key elements are listed here, and let's start from the beginning. So the most important thing is that you can configure, there's configurable market areas that you can set up within one Shopify store. And the smallest configurable area in Shopify point of view is a country or a region, if in case of special areas like Åland Island between Finland and Sweden, or the Jersey Island, or something else that has a specific tax rules, for example. But basically, a country is a kind of a smallest market area that you can specify, but it can be also a set of countries. So one good example is that we have, for example, a Swedish merchant. They have their home market in Sweden. They can use that as a one market. They could have a EU as a second market. Maybe other European countries outside of EU could be a third market. And if they have, for example, a lot of customers in US, they could create a US or North America as a one market. And then everything that comes related to market are kind of following as a features and functions and capabilities listed here below. So after that there is a logical market that you are focusing. You might want to sell with local currencies in those countries that you are expanding or you are focusing. And from the currency point of view, there is two approaches. You can use currency converted prices, or you can use price lists. And price lists give you the power to have a certain price point in certain market, and you can have a nice looking prices that they are not moving all the time or changing all the time, but while the currencies are floating. And if you choose to take a currency conversion, there is two options: automatic currency conversions, having days rate or the hour rate all the time, or the manual currency conversion rate, which is not changing that often and might be easier, for example, from a marketing feed point of view, how the or the Google Shopping point of view, and so on. Then the next step is the languages. What are the languages that you want to offer? Let's add one more thing, that price list is always one per market, but languages, now that we are coming there could be more than one language per market. So you can decide, for example, if you want to offer German language in Germany, French in France, maybe additional English as a backup, since there's a lot of people who are not speaking French or German, but you can also use those same languages in other countries. Like, let's say Switzerland is a good example, or Benelux of a country where there's in Switzerland German, French, Italian, and so on. So you can use those same French and German also in Switzerland if it's its own market. But you can still also have specialties, that some things like shipping methods, payment methods, delivery terms, something is different, or some content needs to be different. You can use partly the global translation, or you can use a local translation to German language, French language in those places where you need it. Then the next step is to set up the local domains or subfolders to each and every market. So you can have a shop.com, shop.se, shop.de, and so on as a local domains, or you can use subfolders that you are adding the country and language to the subfolders, so you can redirect customers to right market and they see the content with right language and their own prices that they have, for example, in Germany. Then there's also other things like duties and import taxes. So if you want to sell cross-border, especially from EU, outside of EU, or other way around, you could offer service for your customers that duties and import taxes are already paid. And that is something that Shopify Markets allows you to do. Then also shipping settings. What are the local shipping methods? This part has not changed so much from what it has been earlier, or the usual VAT taxes are basically the same settings, but now you can manage everything that is related to international commerce from one place. That's what Shopify Market capabilities are in a nutshell.
Great. Thank you, Tero. Pinja, how would you comment on this? Anything you want to add?
I would say that this is like an excellent match for brands which have their audience, for example, is native. They might have different languages, but you create the content almost using English, and you support kind of the market with local currencies and with local market-specific price list and so on. We later on go to kind of pros and cons, and we open up a little bit more like what we see like the best opportunity this is for.
Good. Thank you both. Moving on, how does the roadmap look for 2023 when it comes to Shopify Markets? Tero, what have we learned already now?
Yeah, there's some logical things still missing, kind of this international commerce, and these are exactly the ones that are listed here. So one is the custom storefront content by market, and that is something that we are already now able to have our own, like there was a question already, that our own translations, and we can have our own translations per every market that we want, but having more capabilities to manage content in different parts of the shops, what kind of content we want to show, for example, in Europe or Middle East, that we have, for example, images that are matching kind of that area is something that is coming. And also that these different assortments that you might want to sell different products in different markets, that is still missing and needs customization. Like the first one is something that we can already customize today using Shopify Team, but it hasn't been a kind of a native capability that you can manage directly from Shopify admin. That is coming, and also like managing assortments. And then the third one is more like from the logistic point of view and the fulfillment point of view, how you can have a better profit, that you have a local warehouses. Let's say your truly international brands might have a warehouses in US, Europe, APAC, and so on. and you can decide that you are delivering or fulfilling to Asia, for example, your Asian warehouse, US to your US warehouse, or even in a smaller areas like in Europe, you could have a fulfillment center for Nordic countries, Central European countries and Southern European countries, or so that you can have a faster delivery and a cheaper delivery in that area. And this is something that is coming, and very important factors, especially when you're scaling up and in a larger scale, doing larger scale cross-border e-commerce.
Great, Tero. And then looking a bit forward, what's the current situation? What are the pros and cons? What's your take? And Pinja, feel free to add your comments here as well. How do we?
I would start maybe from the big picture. That, like I said in the beginning, that from the platform point of view, I think this is a big step further. Like before, we needed the multi-store setup. Now we can do more things within one instance, and it gives us the tools that we need for international cross-border commerce. The biggest issue here is about the ecosystem, that when you are adding multi-currency, when you are adding multiple languages, and in the future adding also multi-warehouse fulfillment, it means that all the ecosystem apps, ecosystems, value-added services that are connected with the store needs a lot more complexity. Just a second, I will keep. I got this surprise that I was waiting, so I helped my kid quickly to get the tablet started.
Yeah, maybe I can continue from this. So I would say that in a big picture, there are the easiness that you can do everything in one store, but as mentioned on the list, like all data in one place. But when we come to Shopify Plus, and there are situations that you can use multiple instances. So, for example, when we go to tags or some meta fields types, for example, list meta field, that cannot be yet translated. So there are some pieces still missing on the puzzle, but when we look at the roadmap, I have the gut feeling that these are coming, and that's kind of a true market changer. So. And also, one important thing is that if you want to really enjoy kind of multi-currency, you need Shopify payments for that. And as to say, the local payment methods do not support yet the multi-currency. And for example, Klarna is supported in Shopify Payments Sweden, but it's not in all Shopify Payments agreements. So, for example, if that's very important payment method for your customers, and you want to offer a localized experience or like a multi-currency, then it's not possible yet in all Shopify Payments agreements. And yeah, I would say that like it brings you like everything in one store, but when you use more apps and you have more, like you have a huge product data structure, you just need to be careful. You just need to evaluate very carefully before you start kind of adapting Shopify Markets.
Great. Thanks, Pinja and Tero, really good comments. So I could try to summarize this in a way that if I'm being asked that do people care about Shopify Markets, have we seen demand from our customers? The instant answer is yes, that we are evaluating this for our customers and together with our customers if this is a good fit. if you are in a position where you have a very streamlined, simple setup, where you would like to have more currencies and preferably also languages, then this can be a good fit. I would like to point out that currently the issue with those apps is that the app developers haven't been too aware of the whole thing. They are just like starting to catch up. We have been very active communicating with these developers and informing them that Shopify Markets will be a really big thing. It's already something where we see tremendous demand, and more after more, when they will come out with these announcements and new features, it will definitely become a thing. But it's something that if you are in a setup where you are heavily relying on Shopify apps and some specific apps which don't have currently yet the market support, then we are looking at these cases like one by one. So the basic question to ask yourself is that, what apps are you using? What's your app stack? And do they support markets? Does that really matter? And that's actually something that we do case by case. Tero, Pinja, anything you want to add before moving on?
I think we can continue.
Yep, let's go. Then what we mentioned already on the slides a while back is this hybrid setup. And now the question is, why would this hybrid setup be the best fit for you? And even what is a hybrid setup? So please let us know, what is a hybrid setup? What does it mean?
Hybrid setup means that you are utilizing both multiple Shopify store instances and Shopify Markets. And there is some use cases that you would definitely benefit from that. And for example, if you have a local legal entities that you would like to use. So let's say there is a subsidiary in APAC, another one in US, and the main office in Europe. It might be easier to have a payment agreement, for example, directly with these local legal entities. And in one Shopify store, you can still have only one legal entity connected with your payment services. So that might be another one use case for a hybrid model. Then another one could be that you have a multiple warehouses that you want these warehouses only fulfill the US or only fulfill to Europe. That this was something that was on a roadmap, that Shopify allows you to kind of do order routing from where you want to fulfill to which country, for example. But it's not there yet. So in this phase, it's easier to kind of set up multiple Shopify instances. Then different content and campaigns. Once again, a feature that is coming, that you could have a market-specific content without customizations. If you have a lot of different things that you would like to run completely different campaigns, completely different content in US than in EU, it might be better option to have a separate Shopify store. In that case, it's easier to manage the content and the translations that you might need within those shops. You can still use markets, for example, that you are enabling English and French in Northern America and Canada and US as markets, and they're with their own currencies. But it might be that you have so many differences between European and US market that it's good to have a local Shopify instances. And also assortments, like there was a question that is it so that the Shopify Markets doesn't allow cannot restrict products per market yet. It is true that it out of the box it doesn't do that, and there's options to kind of use this hybrid model to the customization with theme and using apps and theme customizations to do that within one Shopify storefront. But it's coming 2023, so this is one of the things that will be solved. And the last one is the technical limitations. We just a little bit backwards to this pros and cons that there might be apps, let's say subscription, for example, that the subscriptions app doesn't support that complex logic that I was explaining before, that the apps needs to understand fulfillment locations, they need to understand languages, they need to understand currencies, and it adds a lot of complexity to the apps, and that takes the time from the ecosystem to develop everything that Shopify Markets actually now allows to do. And the ecosystem is kind of lacking behind, and it's also some of the Shopify apps that are still kind of lacking behind, that not supporting completely everything that Shopify Markets can offer. So these use cases, for example, can be in these use cases, it can be a good thing to have a kind of a hybrid model utilizing both Shopify Markets and individual local market or country specific Shopify shops.
Very good. Thank you, Tero. Moving on to the last part of the webinar, real life learning from our customer cases. Tero and Pinja, what have we learned?
Yeah, I would say that that Shopify Markets, you can really test markets, and you can really have you can see quickly if multi-currency has an effect on conversion, if localized language has an effect on conversion, and so on. But also you need to take care that you really read the agreement of Shopify payments, because you need the Shopify payments to have multi-currency, and there are some product types that are not allowed. And that's good to check beforehand, for example, e-liquid. And we've seen like that's one product type which is increasing online. And also the third one I want to highlight that, because if you use like multi-currency, the orders you can edit today in your store, it is not working in the same way. Like you can edit orders with the main currency you have on your store, but if it's kind of like the second currency, or like if you allow multiple currencies, you need to always refund the order and then make a draft order. So there are this kind of different logic, because they are linked to the changes in the currency rates and so on. How about you, Tero?
I think there was also, sorry, a little bit interruption, so I might be saying same things again. But yeah, I would say that the major things that you, from the app point of view, I would check is the product feeds, search, email marketing, and then apps that are heavily on your storefront. Let's say subscriptions are a good example. Those are the apps that need to be checked when you want to move to Shopify Markets.
Great, very good add-on, Tero. And also to point out that if you need help with this, or if you are considering markets, feel free to contact us. We are delighted to help. We are evaluating these on behalf of our customers and together with our customers on a daily basis. So we can make sure that if it would be a good time to try out markets, or if you should still postpone that with your setup, and we can do that kind of a risk assessment together with you as well. Final part, questions and answers. So I'll stop my presentation, and now we can look at any potential questions. If you still want to ask something, please type it fast, and we'll cover that as well.
So I picked one question from Segers Fabriker. So maybe you can answer for this. Do you recommend to only use one front store, and how much does this affect the SEO, since you cannot have unique URLs and image alt text for each markets?
Actually, you can, and that's the whole thing, that you can have the own unique URLs to all the markets. So basically, using those subfolders or the local domains, you can always have a own specific URL that is linked to that specific country and the language that is selected, and also the price list that is selected in that case. What comes to image alt text, yeah, there needs to be a translation for that, and that needs a little bit theme customization. That image alt text is coming from a translatable meta field, or the field is also translated. So that can be done. So it's not a problem with Shopify Markets. Then there is question about how to handle translations in app stores, and it is true that you need an app, and even like Shopify admin don't have its own UI for it, but Shopify has developed their own app for translation, and it's actually quite good to use, and also supports AI translations up to 2 languages. If you need more, then you need some other app. But the whole point of this app approach is that this app approach allows to build different ways to handle content. That there can be a Shopify's own app that you can use for manual or even automatic AI translations. There could be other apps that are managing the translations other way around. So it gives kind of the Shopify ecosystem freedom to develop different kind of translations app, even like adding manual professional translations made by translation agencies. But in many cases, the simple option with Shopify's translation adapt is quite good. And then also in a larger scale, what comes to product information, I would utilize BIM if there is a lot of languages, and especially if there is a lot of technical details in the products that needs to be managed. Pinja, could you take the second?
Yes, I can take the second one, but I want to add still, like, and when it comes to themes, and it's good to check that the theme, if you choose like a ready-made theme and you made some customizations, many of those they already support different languages, so that's a good asset. And also, for example, an app like orderly templates, you can translate your notifications multiple languages. Of course, you need a person to evaluate the tone of voice and so on, and that the words support your brand. But yeah, there is a question that did I understand correctly that you cannot restrict products per market yet, but it's coming 2023? Yes, this is coming, and you can only effect on the prices today, but which products are available per market, that's coming. And then we have a few questions left. So what setup would you use for a shop that sells to Sweden and Finland that both needs to support Klarna, 2 stores or markets? I would say that if the company is located in Sweden, like the legal entity, then I would say that you could think about to have a Shopify Markets. But if it's a company from Finland, then it might be that you need 2 stores. Or of course you can add the third-party payment provider, Klarna, and it can be added there, but the payment will go with the main currency on the store. And it's I don't know how the customers how do they will react that, but it's also an option. And then a question for you, Tero. You answered, like, there were, maybe you answered already, like, do you recommend country-specific domains, pros and cons of having and not having? And
well, country-specific domains, I don't see a big benefit, but what I would do is using those subfolders. A bit related to previous question, that with that way you get your unique URLs per country. And what Shopify does is that within one instance, it's managing this href lang tags that tells that which country, which language is used for Google automatically. If you have a hybrid setup, then you need to customize that href lang tags between those instances, and it can be done fairly easily with the theme customization, but that needs to be considered. And also one addition to Pinja's previous answer about the local payment methods and currencies. So it is a limitation that local payment method doesn't support multi-currency, but we can also, at least with Shopify Plus stores, we can quite easily like hide payment methods that cannot be used with specific currency. So that's one option. If the payment method cannot be used with the currency the customer is using, then we are hiding it from the checkout. Was there more questions coming? Did we miss something? Yes, we can. Like I think we answered already this. Can we have a own translations to all markets? Yes, you can. And for example, like English, US English, and so on. It's possible to do.
Great. Thanks, Tero and Pinja, for your time. Time's up. So if you have further questions related to Shopify Markets, please be in touch with us. We are glad to help with the markets. And also, please stay tuned for further webinars coming out next year. If you want to know more about webinars and all of our content, listen to our Commerce Insights podcasts. Wishing you a really great day, and thanks for your participation. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.